Hello, welcome to Clash of the Rams, the sports talk show. I'm your host, Jeremy Hayes. Along with me, we have Eric Russo, Davison Perez,
How we doing, guys?
and Jared Dory.
How we doing?
All right, guys, let's jump right into it. Huge game last night, potential game of the year as of right now. Patriots making a huge comeback, the biggest comeback in Patriots history against the Broncos. So let's just give me your thoughts on, was it a Broncos collapse or are the Patriots a legitimate threat in the NFL?
Well,
Eric?
it's just another great game in the long line of great games between Brady and Manning. I think the Patriots really did make some adjustments at halftime. I think, obviously, Denver did collapse a bit, but I think it was more to do with the Patriots. They really came out in the second half and attacked. Tom Brady was phenomenal in the second half. He was on point. Even in the wind, they scored all those touchdowns in the third quarter. It was very impressive performance to come back in the second half when you're down 24-0 at halftime. Every time they had the ball, it seemed like they were fumbling. The first three drives, they fumble away. And for them to be able to forget about that, come back, beat Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, who are probably the best team in the NFL right now, quite the performance from the Patriots.
Yeah, and that comeback has a lot to do, honestly, with Tom Brady and Belichick. As we always say, we always talk about how Tom Brady and Belichick are, the keys to this team, and they showed it last night. Tom Brady is an exceptional leader, and he just really made his case for being one of the most elite quarterbacks in NFL history with that game. Another statement win against Peyton Manning. Like you said before, the fumbles were a problem, and we'll talk more about Ridley and Blunt and their problems with the fumbling. But overall, a great game, great comeback. I feel that the strategy behind the game with electing to defer in overtime, knowing that the win was going to play a factor. I thought the comeback was perfect.
Were you worried about the call at all when they deferred and took the wins? Or
No, I wasn't at all. I thought that was the right move.
I was very worried. I thought I was yelling at the TV. What are you doing? But
it paid off.
seems to work out. Everything Belichick does has
I
a
trust
reason
Belichick.
behind it.
Yeah,
So
Jared?
that's the thing is, I don't trust Belichick, but it always works out. There was a lot of questionable play calling from Belichick, especially the end of the first half when it was going right. They had like that final minute drive where they could have got in there, maybe throw it in. Like another mishap with him calling timeouts and misplaying the game. It almost gave Manning another shot to get another score, like another field goal. But my main concern of that game that I wanted to focus on is Peyton Manning. What a soft performance from him, really. So you knew going in that Belichick is going to give them the run. So what? Give them the run. Denver.
No Sean Moreno?
Yeah, they run for 280 yards rushing. Moreno, big whoop. When you have one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, and when you need, and in overtime, when you need to get the ball down there, you're just handing it off to. There was one play where you just handed it off to a rookie running back on like a first or second down for a gain of like 3 yards. Like you need to throw that ball. You have ultimate weapons on your team. You have Wes Welker, Demaryius Thomas. You don't have Julius Thomas, but still, Eric Decker. You have to throw that ball. What a soft player. You have the ultimate quarterback weapon, and you just hand it off and you run it. Belichick played that perfectly. He knew they were going to run it, and so he let them have it, and they won the game out of it.
That's honestly very true. And you could throw the onus on Peyton Manning, but the simple fact is the Patriots did it. And for all the talk about how banged up their secondary is, they did an exceptional job on Decker and Demaryius Thomas and keeping them out of the game.
And Welker.
And keeping them out of the game and keeping them not playing well or effectively at all. So you don't blame them for running. I mean, when everybody's covered, what else are you gonna do? You're gonna hand the ball off. So for sure, Talib and Logan Ryan came up super big, and Logan Ryan is a stud. It's his first season.
Got out of nowhere too.
Out of nowhere, and it's his first season, and he's playing exceptionally well. So that's a big plus for the future.
Tom Brady totally outplayed Peyton Manning last night. It wasn't even close. Peyton was choking away the game in the second half. He had the great drive there to tie the game late, but he kind of got bailed out earlier in the fourth quarter. He threw a second interception that was called back on pass interference. That was a horrible throw. Uncatchable if you go by the rules from last week, but they still called pass interference, and then of course he threw the interception earlier in the second half. But Brady, he was just money last night, and Peyton showed that, you know, sometimes on the big stage, especially against Tom Brady, he doesn't live up to the hype.
Seriously. And can we also just talk about really quickly about how Kimbrel Tompkins stepped up coming out of the half?
Huge second half.
Yeah.
Zero targets in the first half. Came out literally gunning one play after the other, getting first downs, getting extra yardage. Like he came out and he did an exceptional job. And he's not going to come out in the highlight reels he's not going to be one of those like keys to the victory.
Yeah.
But he was a huge component in moving the offense forward and getting those extra yardage.
Somebody else I want to mention too is Julian Edelman.
For sure.
Huge performance, not only receiving wise, punt returns. He was phenomenal last night. He's been phenomenal
All year.
his whole career, but he was great last night. He knew what he was doing back there. Unlike Denver and Wes Welker in overtime on the punt return, he didn't know what to do. Welker probably should have come up and fear caught it, and he didn't. He lets it roll. It hits one of his teammates, leading to
And there
the
you go.
winning field
That's
goal.
what I want to touch on is Wes Welker. What a non-factor in this game he really was. He had a big drop on third down. He needed to get that. One of the biggest upsides to the Patriots fans watching that is Welker's all his drops in the final season with them and then watching that happen. But on that last play on the punt return, Welker should have went over and caught it, or he should have made the initiative to make that call. I think that was on Welker. He should have done that. He failed. He screwed that one up, and that lost him the game. I think the game would have either resulted in a tie or Denver would have went and kicked a field goal.
Absolutely.
But the Patriots were not going to win that game in overtime until Welker made that mishap.
All right, we got to step away from this game. Before we move on, I just want to add that Jamie Collins, who was a defensive end in college, and he's played outside linebacker and safety throughout his collegiate career. And he was the guy covering Welker on a lot of the plays last night. He did a pretty good job
did a
staying
solid
with
job.
him for a guy that's like 6'4" and like 250. So, I
Very
mean,
great job.
Secondary was great as a whole.
the
Yeah,
defense
for
just...
sure.
Yep.
They stepped
Yeah.
it up. Well, maybe not the front seven.
I was
Giving up,
thinking that.
giving
I
up
was like,
280
eh.
yards rushing. Yeah.
But that's what
But
they wanted.
the
They were willing to.
secondary stepped up exactly when they needed
Yeah,
to.
to
Yeah.
your point, in coverage, they were very good.
Yeah, and we got to move on to the rest of the NFL, so I'm going to let Jared start off. We're going to just kind of go around the rest of the league, so you can start us off.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Chiefs. This team is a team that came out undefeated until the last two games, and yesterday, the Chargers, Phillip Rivers scores 41 points and scores a touchdown, less than a minute left. And finally, people are revealing that the Chiefs are not that great of a team. In all their games so far, they have played two teams that are even over 500, one being Denver, one was the Cowboys. This is a team that is facing a terrible schedule, but that's the NFL. You can't put that on them. But now you're watching this team, and you know that this team's defense is vulnerable. You can score against it, and now they have to face Denver again next week. They're going to have to face the Chargers again, and they finally are playing teams that can put up a fight. They face like the Texans, Jaguars. They have to face Oakland again. They've had such a mediocre schedule, and it's finally showing. I'm glad Phillip Rivers. I love that. I love the Chargers. I love Phillip Rivers. I'm glad they finally were able to defeat the Chiefs, and I want to see them make a push for the wild card.
I agree with Phillip Rivers, but what I'm going to go into, it kind of ties into Mr. Fairweather Peyton Manning. I'm going to talk about the Saints and Drew Brees. The Saints are one of the best teams this year, I think, so far from what I've seen. If they do not get home field advantage, they will lose in the first round of the playoffs. Because he's won every home game he can win in the Dome. This week they're playing in Seattle. I have a feeling they're going to get stomped in Seattle. And it's just one of those things that it's a winter sport in the playoffs. So if they have to go on the road and play in the snow, Drew Brees isn't going to be a factor at all. And when they won their Super Bowl, they had home field advantage. It's just one of those things. There are certain guys who are dome boys.
Yeah.
They can only handle playing in a dome.
Yeah,
right.
home field advantage definitely key, but there are teams that are fighting for that wild card spot, like the Arizona Cardinals, which is what I'm going to talk about. The Cardinals faced the Colts and really demolished them in that game that they played against them. And going into the season, one would have thought that the Colts would, judging from their hot start, that they would would coast to the playoffs, and now it's not really seeming that way. Losing Reggie Wayne was huge. We gotta wonder if maybe his loss is going to affect this team. You also have Hayward Bay, who's nursing an ankle injury. The longevity of this team is really in question. And just to go back to the Cardinals are making a pretty good playoff push now with four straight wins. And it's not going to get any easy because they have to face their last two games. These 2 games of the season are Seattle and San Francisco. But strong performance for the past couple weeks for the Cardinals for sure.
Eric?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Carolina Panthers last week. Obviously, the huge win over the Patriots. Yesterday, they win again late against Miami. Cam Newton with some huge drives over the last couple of weeks, proving himself as one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. I know going into last week, I kind of questioned whether or not they were ready for the bright lights, for the spotlight. I thought maybe we'd see a Houston Texans kind of deal from last year where they came into Monday night and the Patriots kind of ran them out of town and ended their season. But they showed last week that they can compete with anybody. They obviously beat the Patriots, but they showed that they belong. Their defense is phenomenal. Cam Newton has been great as their quarterback, and they're going to be a dangerous team heading down the stretch.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the NFL is just loaded going into the end of the season as far as teams having a shot at the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting in the next couple of weeks to see who can actually stay alive.
For sure.
All right, but moving on to the NBA. Speaking of not staying alive,
Oof.
poor Derrick Rose again. Apparently, Derrick Rose is going to have trouble staying healthy throughout his career if there's anything left in his career. You hope there is.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Rose is a very talented player, but we'll start with you, Jared. Just what are your thoughts on the Rose injury?
Oh, God. He misses 2 seasons, comes back finally, and then he's gone again. Pathetic. It's going to be hard to be a fan of that team, watching him being down again. There was hope with him coming back. Hey, the team could be right up there again. Now you lose him again, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah, man. You're talking about a meniscus tear. And what is this guy's problem with his knees? Like, you got to send him to Germany at this point so you can get that Kobe procedure done. Like seriously, this is a detrimental loss to the Bulls. He's their franchise. They were banking on him coming back this season so they can make a playoff push, and now Kirk Heinrich is not gonna replace a Derrick Rose. No way, no how. And Joakim Noah is not capable of carrying this team on his own. So this is a terrible situation for the Bulls in an Eastern Conference that doesn't even look promising, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, the guy said it. It's a major blow to Chicago and any hopes that they had of, taking down Miami. Indiana, is the only other team there. Those 3 teams were the teams that everybody looked to that had a chance out of the Eastern Conference. And now that Derrick Rose is out again, I don't see Chicago doing much. Not just because of the talent factor, but just the mental factor that it has. Wow, our leader Derrick Rose is out again for the year. Just a huge blow for them, for sure.
It's one of those things that you said where the East is pretty weak this year. It's Indiana and Miami. That's it. The Hawks are third. I mean, I don't even think the Hawks are anywhere close to being where the Pacers are. But I just want to say that the 8 teams make the playoffs. The Bulls are going to make the playoffs. Let's not get carried away like that they're doomed. But the problem is that we saw it last year where the Bulls really competed against the Heat. And then they keep showing Rose in his suit on the bench like, oh, only if he was playing. That's exactly what's going to happen this year in the playoffs if they meet up with either the Pacers or the Heat.
Right. Well, I honestly personally think that the Eastern Conference is totally up for grabs. I mean, you have the Charlotte Bobcats are in 5th place right now. The Pistons are up there. The Hawks are up there as well. It's really anybody's game. There's like 8 or 9 teams under 500.
Behind the Heat, though.
Behind the Heat and Pacers, of course. And just touching upon the Heat and Pacers real quick, it's really their league. It's their conference right now. They're obviously going to make the playoffs. Whoever they face, because let's say the Bobcats for some reason are the 8th seed and Miami's the 1st. Miami's going to take out the Bobcats. Next round, they're probably going to take out, the Bucks or something, whoever's up there. And it's just a very, soft conference in general. So.
All right, we actually got to move on to our next topic, which is NHL. NHL, we're, at the quarter mark right now? Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody expected Stamkos to be out at this point when the year started. I think, me personally, I thought the Lightning would be somewhat of contenders, but now the Bruins have taken the top spot in the East. So, Eric, what do you think about that?
The Bruins are kind of rolling along right now. They're in a great stretch. They've had a lot of home games of late, and they've taken advantage of that. Big one tonight against Pittsburgh to see how they can match up against, what many people believe is the best team in the Eastern Conference. But they've been good. Tuukka Rask has been phenomenal. He's probably the leader in the clubhouse for the Vezina Trophy at this point. Offensively, they've struggled to score goals a little bit, but they've gotten contributions lately, especially from the third and fourth lines. That's helped their scoring. But overall, they're in a nice little run here. They've kind of gone from the middle of the pack in their division up to the top spot. They have a 3-point lead now in their division. So nice little run for the Bruins of late.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with Eric. All they have to do is really, just spruce little things up, and they'll be in good shape. Down the line, you just gotta stay healthy, of course. Injuries here and there. I've been seeing a lot of players on the Bruins, fall and kind of aggravate some things. But if they can stay healthy, maintain that aggressiveness, and keep going after it, they have a very legitimate shot of repeating as champions again. So just pay attention to those key things. Keep playing defense, like I know Claude Julien is all about, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's a defensive system that I hate, but it has gotten them to the Stanley Cup twice. They've won it once. So this is the thing. It's every year we're going to be talking about the Bruins cannot put the puck in the net, and that is because in Claude Julien's system, it will never happen. You got that guy, Tyler Seguin, that was going to be the one to put the puck in the net, and you see how he goes. I mean, he's a different personnel. He's not the right guy, but still, it's always going to be the talk. But I want to mention how the fact that in the Eastern Conference, the Bruins are the top team in points. Mm-hmm. And if you want to look at it in the other conference, we have 7 teams that are ahead of the Bruins in points, and then there's one other team that is tied with them. That is 8 teams that are either tied or better than the Bruins. So what does that say about it? And then you have to take a look at Detroit. They've been rough. They've been struggling, but they're coming back. And so now Detroit's going to be getting on the better end. They've lost a lot in overtime. I believe in the last 10, they've lost 5 in overtime or shootout. So Detroit is still right there in points, and it's just anyone's game. Toronto has been hot. Toronto's a very good team offensively. And then obviously Ottawa has the player, the talent, they can pull through. But it's going to be interesting to see how it goes with Pittsburgh now tonight. Ginlow, to watch that whole entire thing happen. But the Bruins' success so far is obviously Tuukka Rask. He is the key. He's right now probably my guess for Vezina at this point in the season, but we still have a long season to go. And so it's going to be interesting to watch how that goes.
In my opinion, the Bruins have some some rookies that are on the rise. Like you have Krug, you have Riley Smith. These are guys that if you kind of refine their skills and help build them up, but come playoff time, they'll be fine. That's really what they're lacking right now is a legit scorer. And if they can, kind of train these guys, I guess you could say, to live up to their potential, then I think they'll be A-okay.
To go back to the scoring, the Bruins don't have a scorer in the top 50 in the league. Mm-hmm. I think they were at like 60th, Milan Lucic, who was leading a few days ago. But like we said, they're built on defense. They will score, but it's more balanced throughout the system. They're not going to have that guy who has, 80, 90 points a year. But like you said, Torrey Krug obviously is, the revelation. We saw what he did in the playoffs. He broke out then, and now you're seeing what he can do offensively for you. He's one of the top scorers among defensemen in the league. Mm-hmm. He's just so dynamic out there with the puck. He can pass the puck, he can shoot the puck, he makes things happen. And Riley Smith, I love that you brought him up. He has 15 points already. I don't know too many people who saw that coming. For many people, I think he's been the better part of that trade with Dallas. Louis Erickson's been okay. He had the concussion. He's still coming back from that a little bit. But Riley Smith has been consistent. He's been good on that third line. He's been bumped up a few times. He's been great. He's been a great a role player for the Bruins. Someone that not many people expected to be producing at the rate that he has.
And one last thing I want to mention is we talked about earlier in the season how much of a pathetic team the Flyers are, and look where they are now. In the last 10, they're have 7 wins, so they're coming back. Claude Giroux is finding his way, so that's a team to also look out for because they're talented.
They're just not assaulting people anymore.
No more assaults. But that's going to be a team to also look forward to because the Flyers are a good, talented team. It's just goaltending is always there.
Yeah, there's a lot of parity in the league, like the NFL. Many teams are involved. Like we said, the West is stacked. Those divisions out there. I mean, Chicago, Colorado, Anaheim, San Jose, LA. I mean, just go down the line. There's St. Louis, who
of course,
it's just a great team. Just so many teams that are in it. So many teams that are contending. It's going to be a great second half of the year. I think as we head towards the playoffs. A long ways off yet.
Yeah, only a quarter of the only a quarter of the way there. So we gotta see what else is gonna happen.
It's just sad to see without Stamkos. He's gone.
Yeah, he said he's coming back. He wants to come back, and that doesn't mean he's gonna.
He's not going to be himself. He's not going to be Stamkos for a while.
Yeah. All right, we gotta wrap up the show, but before we do, let's just go into a little bit about baseball off season. I think everybody's still on a Red Sox high in the city, but there's still moves that need to be made. So just real quick, let's jump into what's happening about like the past week or two as far as baseball.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees are back to their big spending ways. They threw a lot of money at Brian McCann, who, is probably, the biggest name on the market as far as catchers go. They give him 5 years, $85 million, which is kind of ridiculous. I think it's not. I didn't want the Red Sox to go anywhere near Brian McCann. I think they should go back to Jared Saltalamacchia. He's younger. He's on the rise offensively. He's got his troubles defensively. We saw that in the World Series, but I think that's the guy you want behind the plate for the next couple of years. To throw all that money at Brian McCann, who's getting older, his offensive production has declined in the last few years. I didn't want any part of that. And then, of course, the big trade between the Tigers and the Rangers, Prince Fielder goes to Texas, Ian Kinsler back to Detroit. Looks like Miguel Cabrera will be back at first base for Detroit.
Yeah, I just kind of want to go back to the Yankees and how they're not very smart with their spending. I mean, like you said, they threw a ton of obviously it's the Yankees, but they threw a ton of money at McCann, and honestly I feel like the lack of a farm system is really going to bite them in the butt. They're banking on Gary Sanchez, their prospective catcher, but these guys in the Yankees clubhouse are old, they're decrepit, they're going to break at any moment, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Yankees do in terms of making this ball club way younger, since they don't have a legitimate farm system. So it's going to be interesting to see in the next couple of days what they do with their money and see if they actually invest in young talent.
All that money.
Yep. It's caught up to them. That's what everyone has been watching forever now, is the Red Sox develop their players young, the Yankees go out and buy players. Now the Yankees players are all old, and that's what happens to the Yankees. So unless they can bring some young talent, I don't see them doing anything. McCann now is ridiculous pay. But Detroit Rangers, Prince Fielder now going to Texas, and Ian Kinsler back to Detroit. Awesome move for Detroit. Clear up that money, lock up Scherzer, and Kinsler's a great fit in there. That is a great, great move for Detroit. I think they absolutely did what they needed to do. You have that money, clear up that money, and you lock up Scherzer, who was the Cy Young last year. He's going to be one of the best pitchers in the AL. Absolutely perfect move. Texas, I feel bad. How do you even sell that one? You have Prince Fielder coming in, who's been, big contract, big guy, and the ball might soar in Texas, but it's just, Detroit, they did what they needed to do. Fielder was not the player that they brought in that they thought he was going to be in the postseason. Probably the reason why they couldn't beat the Red Sox. Awesome move by Detroit.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jared. This is a great move for Detroit. They're not going to be, the powerhouse that they were, because Prince Fielder was a huge bat for them, but they are going to be a team that's going to get on base. And with that being said, Cabrera, now that he doesn't have Fielder, he's going to get walked a lot. But the fact that they can get on base, and they have guys like Kinsler and guys like Iglesias, who's an emerging star in this league, the fact that they're going to be able to get on base makes more opportunity for runs scored and things like that. Locking up Scherzer was a phenomenal move. That was a no-brainer in my opinion. You have to. If you have to sign the reigning Cy Young Award winner. So great move for Detroit. I think Texas, kind of got the latter end. While they do have more power now that they have Prince Fielder, it's It's going to be interesting to see if they re-sign Nelson Cruz or, get some more. And it's going to be interesting what they do in the outfield for that team.
All right, wrap
I
us
want to
up.
link it back to the Red Sox. Texas was looking for a first baseman. They have him now, so that kind of takes the Mike Napoli rumors of going back to Texas out of the picture. I think the Red Sox have been very quiet so far. They made one minor move for a relief pitcher, but other than that, they have done nothing. I think Mike Napoli will be back now that market has kind of shrunk for him. I think they really have no other choice but to bring Saltalamacchia back to be the catcher. And then, Stephen Drew is probably gone. But the big one is going to be Jacoby Ellsbury to see where he goes. I don't think he's coming back here, but someone is going to give him big, big money. Probably not the biggest contract we'll see this offseason, Robinson Cano, asking for that ridiculous $300 million
Bizarre.
Which he's not gonna get.
contract,
Bizarre.
which I think he needs to, come back to earth a little bit if he wants to be signed. But like I said, the Red Sox have been quiet. Things will be picking up, though.
All right, yeah, before we wrap up the show, that's my only word is that things are going to, obviously more stuff is going to happen that we'll be able to talk about as far as the off season. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
you too.
Eat a lot of
You guys
food. A lot of food.
Go eat those turkeys.
All right, from us in Studio 73, we'll see you guys in a week.